Okay, good afternoon. Thank you, members. Thank you for your indulgence. We're going to begin our committee hearings on the Senate bills for our 1 p.m. bill hearing. We have about 9 bills on the docket. We're going to begin with Senate Bill 233. Is Senator Sal? Good afternoon, Senator Sally.
Down presenting Senate Bill 233. It's a business regulation cemeteries requirement for sale, transfer, and government acquisition. At the core, this bill is about respect for those who passed, the communities, and sacred places. Cemeteries hold deep historic and cultural significance. Yet, under current law, decisions about their sale and redevelopment can limit who has a voice. With this bill, we need to update the process. First, it ensures those who are really connected, such as families, descendants, groups, government, have an opportunity to be heard. Second, in addition, transparency by requiring public notice and outreach our decisions are not made without community awareness. The bill established a structure review process through the Office of Cemetery Oversight to ensure requirements are met and key factors are considered before approval. Importantly, religious organizations remained exempt from state approval while still needing to provide notice and outreach. It creates a pathway for abandoned cemeteries, allowing the state or local government to preserve these sites and transfer them to responsible organizations. Finally, it ensures that if a sale is approved, human remains are treated with dignity and respect. From a physical standpoint, the bill is expected to have minimum impact, and I believe this is a good bill to just help clean up some of the policies that we do have. So with that, Madam Chair, Committee, I hope and pray that we can move this bill, and I do have a good cross file with Delegate Hill. So pretty much that's about it, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. We'll start with questions with Vice Chair.
Thank you, Senator, for bringing this bill. I really appreciate it. I've been following some of these bills. We have some issues in my own community, and people are very, very interested in this. So we worked on Delegate Hill's bill over here, and I think they ended up in very different postures. So I'm just wondering how you feel about the House's amendments. Specifically, we really were committed to keeping descendant communities, for example, involved, to having it apply across the board, not exempting, for example, religious groups where, who own many of these cemeteries. And I'm just interested in if you want to comment on the amendments and if you, are open to, if you just want to comment on the amendments, and we'd like to keep it in the form that we passed it.
And I'm fine with that, Madam Chair. I think the priority that we do have is making sure that families have a say, that when they change and they resell, the opportunity for communities have a say as well. I think it's a very important thing. And the changing and the things that do happen do affect communities, but more importantly, they affect families. So we make sure that they have a part of that say. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further questions, thank you, Senator Salling.
Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.
Bill hearing on Senate Bill 233. We'll now move on to Senate Bill 345. Senator Waldstreicher or a representative thereof. Seeing none, we're going to skip to Senate Bill 438. Senator Jackson or Hershey or representative. Okay, seeing none. Senate Bill 589. Senator Kramer, no representative. Okay. Are any senators here or any representatives of senators? Okay, who are you representing?
Chair Zucker.
Oh, Senator Zucker is here, just in the nick of time. Okay, then we will go back to Senator Zucker. We'll take up your Senate Bill 905.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Distinguished colleagues, I will keep my testimony brief, but first let me again salute my teammate, now that I'm seeing her, Delegate Pam Queen, for her service. She's been an astounding teammate and I know she's going to be working hard to get this bill passed. No, I'm just teasing, Delegate. Madam Chair, you might remember this bill. You and I have spoken about it. It's regarding TEDCO. This is a part of, it's a big priority for both the House and the Senate in terms of growth and growing the economy. This will provide funding within TEDCO to support quantum computing, aerospace, other sciences, to make us not only competitive throughout the region, but really the world. We've already put money into it through the capital budget, of which you all are in the process of approving. But with that, I know for the interest of time, I'll turn it over to my panel unless anyone has any specific questions for me. Great.
Cool. Good afternoon. My name is Troy Lamel Stovall. I humbly serve as the CEO of TEDCO. Senator Zucker, thank you for your support, continued support, not just of this bill, but for TEDCO overall, and for all of you for your support of TEDCO, particularly through the budget bill. I just want to thank you for allowing us to be able to support the innovation and the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in the state of Maryland. And this bill helps bring that along. As you think about, I think when people think about stuff, they sometimes forget that stuff has to be made, and that made, we call it manufacturing, and the ability to make manufacturing includes, particularly when you talk about advanced manufacturing, that also includes making cells, that includes making medical tech devices. And so what this bill does, it puts, it continues to reinforce Maryland's being that place where innovation, entrepreneurship can get to market and really scale into that market. And this allows us to be able to provide grants and resources to manufacturers so they get to that scale, so that these entities that we're funding at the early stages don't leave the state. We now create that scale, that manufacture. You're going to hear from some of our great partners here that this bill really does create scale, and that's what this is about. So again, I thank you for your support, and again, I'm here for any questions. And I'm going to turn it over to our panel.
All right, well, I guess I'll go next. Madam Chair, Vice Chair, thank you for your time today. My name is Josh Barnes. I'm the COO of a company called Harbor Designs and Manufacturing. We're a turnkey service provider for anyone that's developing a new product and bringing it to market, with a heavy focus on the actual commercialization and manufacturing. So we do that by acting as an extension of our client teams as product managers, and we have to make the right decisions for our customers on what their manufacturing and supply chain strategy looks like. And sometimes that means managing production that happens outside of the city and outside of the state. We have a 45,000 square foot facility in Baltimore City dedicated to actual manufacturing practices, but we have to pick and choose what makes the most sense for our clients on a case-by-case basis. And that often comes down to the cost of labor. And labor is something that we are not going to compromise on. We're not going to race to the bottom on wages. So how do you have living wages and beyond and invest in manufacturing locally? And the answer is automation and investing in 4.0 technologies. And for that reason, I'm a big proponent of this bill. And I thank TEDCO and Senator for bringing it.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, esteemed members of the committee. It's a pleasure for me to be here. My name is Jorge Diaz-Schneider. I am the CEO of Ion Storage Systems. We are a battery technology innovator right here in Prince George's County. We are proud children of Maryland. Our company was brought about by Dr. Eric Boxman's research in University of Maryland. We continue to expand and grow in Beltsville. We are currently undergoing the largest investment in our company's history to create a one-of-a-kind process to manufacture our ceramic electrolyte, which is really what distinguishes our battery technology from those others that are in the market. Our relationship with TEDCO has been of tremendous value, not just because of the financial support, but also because of what TEDCO has enabled us to do. TEDCO has enabled us to be part of the community. It has also enabled us to showcase to investors a relationship with an established organization that is not only providing funding, but is also providing key brokerage of relationships and also advice across the different angles of growth that we're currently experiencing. I'm proud to report that we are one of the few battery companies that remain. We're probably the only one on the East Coast. We're a technology that is typically related to companies in the California area, and we are making tremendous strides sides. A bill like this allows us to create the manufacturing footprint, grow jobs in Maryland, and be competitive against those that are, really in a much stronger position than we are. So what this bill does and this type of ecosystem, we stand as a proud testament of what can be achieved, and we look forward to keeping everyone in the loop of growth like this and be an inspiration for other companies that would have the good fortune of being part of the TEDCO ecosystem. We strongly support the passing of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Friend Steve.
Good afternoon, Chairman Valadrama, Chair Barnes, Vice Chair, and members of both committees. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and thank you to Senator Zucker for championing this bill. My name is Stephen Walker. As you've heard so far, this bill on advanced manufacturing covers multiple industries. Today, I'm going to just provide my thoughts through the lens of life sciences. I've spent more than 2 decades working with biotech and pharmaceutical companies to bring growth and to expand access to valuable medication to patients. Today, I work closely with a number of emerging companies, small companies, scientists and entrepreneurs out of the universities through my consultancy. In that work, I see a pattern over and over again. We see brilliant science, strong teams, and enormous potential. But the one thing that happens is that we oftentimes face challenges or friction when it comes to access to advanced manufacturing. And when we speak about advanced manufacturing in the life science space, it's not just a buzzword. It's a backbone to the modern life science innovation. It's an industry that is moving at the speed of light. We're talking about technologies like continuous manufacturing, digital, AI-driven systems, modular production, and advanced analytics, all pivotal to advancing science and building innovation within our state. Maryland is already a powerhouse within research, but research alone doesn't build an industry. Strategic grant funding is what helps these companies, and it's important and imperative that we support these burgeoning companies. Thank you. And I'd like to take a moment to let this gentleman introduce himself, if you wouldn't mind.
Hello, I'm Sebastian Walker, and I would like to thank you all for coming here to support science.
Nice move, Senator Zucker.
Well done, bud.
We have
That's what I'm talking about.
we have a question from Delegate Chi.
It's not really a question. I'm just excited to see more bills like this that will advance not only innovation, but innovation entrepreneurship especially. And a point of privilege, I'm thrilled to see my constituent. Steve, it's great to see you. And of course, my good friend, Joy Stavo. Thank you for your leadership. Thanks, everyone. Move favorable, yes.
Seeing there are no questions, thank you, Senator Zucker, and your panel for your testimony this afternoon. We do have another person here favorable with amendment, Rachel Brewster. Is Rachel Brewster here? She is? Oh, she's virtual? It says in person. Okay, no Rachel Brewster. Going once, twice? Okay. We do have Ben Holmes, who's virtual.
Yes, hello. Prepared a statement. I'm happy to read that to the group now. Hello, my name is Ben Holmes, and I serve as the CEO of Nanocon, based in Baltimore, Maryland. As a scientist, researcher, entrepreneur, and business leader, I respectfully urge you to authorize the Maryland Stem Cell Research Commission through the Maryland Stem Cell Research Fund, MSCRF, to operate the Regenerative Medicine Advanced Manufacturing Program proposed under SB 0905. Nanocon is a clinical stage regenerative medicine company. We are developing Chondrograft, a 3D printed implant designed to treat cartilage loss in the knee with a focus on arthritis, a condition affecting millions and with few meaningful advances in decades. Our technology relies on advanced materials and precision manufacturing to replicate natural cartilage function. By bringing this level of innovation to patients requiring highly specialized, capital-intensive manufacturing infrastructure, which is far beyond the reach of most early-stage companies. Receiving an MSCRF manufacturing assistance grant was a turning point for Nanocon. It provided critical, non-dilutive funding and, just as importantly, access to the infrastructure and expertise needed to move from concept to clinic and beyond. With MSCRF support, we established GMP-compliant manufacturing in ISO-certified clean rooms in Baltimore, aligned our process with FDA and international manufacturing standards, and bridged the so-called valley of death between preclinical success and human trials. Today, Nanocon is conducting its first-in-human clinical studies. The rigor of MSCRF's review process also helped us secure an additional $4.1 million in investor capital in our Seed Prime 2 financing round in early 2026, which is clear evidence that when the state de-risks advanced manufacturing, private capital does follow. MSCRF's impact goes beyond funding. It has built a proven system for evaluating and supporting regenerative medicine technologies grounded in deep technical expertise and strong ethical and regulatory oversight. This is not theoretical. It has already delivered results, and Nanocon is a perfect case study for that. SB 0905 addresses a real need, helping companies bridge the gap between innovation and scalable manufacturing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. There are no questions for you. Thank you for your testimony this afternoon. We have Stephen Chang. You're muted, Mr. Chang.
Hi, I'm unmuted. Technicalities. Hi, I'm actually calling from California. I'm actually calling from Silicon Valley at the hotbed of advanced manufacturing and life sciences. I've had the privilege of over 20 years of reviewing for the Maryland Stem Cell Research Commission and MSCRF. So I'd like the opportunity to speak in support of SB 0905. I respectfully urge you to amend the bill so that the Advanced Stem Cell Manufacturing Program for Regenerative Medicine is operated by the MCSRF group. I have served on the review committee for nearly 20 years, and I bring 42 years of commercial experience in stem cell and gene therapy research, product development, as well as commercialization. I've also been one of the pioneers in induced pluripotent stem cells, which is a large focus of many of the applications and of manufacturing. Based on that experience, I believe MSCRF is the best home for the program. First, the program's mission aligns directly with MCSRF's core purpose, advancing stem cell and regenerative medicine in Maryland, including industry support, expert and ethical oversight. Second, MCSRF has a proven manufacturing assistance program, as just the prior speaker has done that. And we have funded several advanced manufacturing programs already within the state. Third, MCR's review structure brings deep scientific, technical, and ethical expertise to evaluate complex manufacturing proposals. In addition, we have brought on individuals with deep manufacturing experience in actual product development. Third,
Mr. Chang, if you could wrap up.
It's done. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Seeing no questions, appreciate your testimony this afternoon. We have one more virtual, John Rowley.
All right, good afternoon, Chair and members of the Economic Matters Committee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I guess, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak today. I'm John Rowley. I'm the founder and chief product officer of Rooster Bio, a Frederick, Maryland-based company focused on the commercialization of human stem cells and stem cell manufacturing tools for the advanced therapy and regenerative medicine industry. And like the previous two speakers, I'm here to show support for authorizing the Maryland Stem Cell Research Commission through MSCRF to operate the advanced manufacturing program proposed under SB 0905. The growth of Rooster Bio over the past 13 years has been a direct example of how MSCRF can help companies move from science to commercialization and through commercial manufacturing. We've ourselves have expanded from 6 employees in 2014 to over 50 today. We've grown with venture capital as well as support from the MSCRF via commercialization and manufacturing grants. We've expanded our manufacturing footprint, our technology capabilities, our intellectual property estate, to meet this growing global demand for high quality, standardized stem cell raw materials and ancillary materials for the scalable production of these products. So we've grown significantly in Maryland, and these are all the things that the SB 0905 is intended to drive. Fully support that bill. What makes MSCRF very effective is not just in the funding, but how they deploy it, the rigorous review, the deep technical expertise, and the clear understanding of the real-world production and the regulatory aspects of this, right? So just to wrap up, if the goal of SB 0905 is to accelerate manufacturing and support Maryland-based companies at critical stages to strengthen our leadership in this field, then I believe MSCRF is already doing the work, doing it very well, and I strongly encourage you to amend the bill to have MSCRF lead this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rowley. I see no questions for you. Thank you for your testimony this afternoon.
Thank you.
Seeing no further witnesses, that concludes the bill here. Oh. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Go ahead.
Valderrama and members of the Economic Matters Committee. My name is Rachel Brewster. I'm a full professor in the Department of Biological Sciences at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and I'm also the chair of the Maryland Stem Cell Research Commission. I'm here to support SB 905, but with 2 amendments that would strengthen the bill and ensure it builds on Maryland's existing strengths. First, as currently written, the bill does not give the Commission the authority to run the Regenerative Medicine Advanced Manufacturing Program. This is a missed opportunity. The Commission already funds and oversees manufacturing efforts in regenerative medicine, an area that is distinct from general advanced manufacturing because it requires specialized expertise as well as familiarity with complex regulatory and ethical considerations. Relegating the Commission to an advising role does not leverage the infrastructure and review process already in place. Instead, it risks duplicating effort, adding costs, and reducing efficiency. In short, we have a system that's working. This amendment allows the state to build on it rather than duplicate it. Second, we recommend narrowing the bill's focus to advanced manufacturing related to regenerative medicine, or at a minimum, allocating a defined portion of funding to this area. Advanced manufacturing in this context includes automated closed system production, real quality monitoring, and scalable bioprocesses technology. These approaches improve consistency, reduce contamination risk, and enable production at scale. Integrating these methods can help deliver regenerative therapies to patients more quickly, safely, and reliably. These amendments ensure that SB 905 strengthens, rather than diluting, Maryland's leadership in regenerative medicine. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brewster. We have a question from Delegate Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you want to direct the funding to stem cell research?
Yeah, the bill as written includes regenerative medicine, but the bill evolved over time. It started with more of a focus on regenerative medicine and then gradually moved towards other advanced manufacturing.
Okay.
And we feel very strongly that we are the people that do stem cell manufacturing.
Sure. That's the process of bills in Annapolis. They evolve and devolve over time sometimes. That's the process we have here, and number one. And number two is when I looked into this bill, because I really like this bill, it's my understanding that TEDCO has 18 or 19 member board, and you are a voice on that board, isn't that correct?
We are an independent entity under TEDCO.
Okay.
With legislation.
So you have no representative on that board?
I'm not part of the board, no.
You're not, but
No.
you don't have any.
MSCRF has its own
So they have their
independent
own,
board.
okay. So what you're essentially, in my eyes, asking us to do is circumvent your board procedure and have the legislature step in as a directive in this legislation.
Well, as I said, MSCRF is independent of TEDCO. The role of TEDCO is to administer MSCRF.
They may be independent of TEDCO, but that doesn't mean that they don't have representation on the board of TEDCO to direct these funds. So that'll be all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
See no further questions. Thank you, Ms. Brewster, for your testimony this afternoon. See no further witnesses. That concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 905. Senator Kramer, Senate Bill 589.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. You actually let me back in 2 days in a row.
We did, but we don't need the monologue this afternoon.
And
love you
thank you
as
for
is.
that, Madam Chair. Oh, you may want to settle in for a couple of minutes and get the popcorn out. But Madam Chair.
There is a cross file, so just.
Ben, it did, but it has changed dramatically. Ben Kramer introducing Senate Bill 589, which colleagues, the subject's going to sound familiar, I hope, because this is the cross-file to House Bill 433, Delegate Cheese bill. And the subject matter is that the Office of the Attorney General has concluded that property managers need to be licensed as debt collectors, even though the work they do is entirely different than what debt collectors do, because debt collectors are licensed as third-party collectors of debt. Property managers manage property. As a part of that, they'll frequently send out notices, as we would want them to do to tenants, and say, look, we didn't get your rent check this month, want to give you the heads up, you know, in case you mailed it, just let us know that it's on the way, or if you forgot, send us your rent check. But that does not make them third-party debt collectors. The bill that you heard from Delegate Chi clarifies that property managers are in fact not debt collectors. Having said that, because of some conversation I had with the Attorney General, the bill before you has been heavily amended, but I think it accomplishes the goal of what we are seeking. So there was a court case this past December, circuit court, where a circuit court judge, on point to the issue at hand, concluded that, in fact, property managers are not debt collectors. They are not. This is the first case on point to this issue. And yet the Attorney General's office has chosen to disregard the finding of the circuit court and indicated they are going to pursue licensing of property managers as third-party debt collectors. Now, I'll quickly read to you, if I may, Madam Chair, just a couple of sentences out of the court's finding. And here's what the court had to say. Nothing in the legislative history of the EMCALA, and that's the debt collection agency section of the code, supports the conclusion that the General Assembly intended to include a person incidentally engaged in the collection of consumer debt, such as a property manager, as a debt collection agency. The court then went on to specifically say that what the Attorney General has relied on in representing that somehow property managers are third-party debt collectors is not instructive because it's not on point. Now, I picked up the phone and I spoke with the judge in this case, and she said, well, it's on appeal. I can't discuss specifics, but she said, what I can assure you is there was a significant amount of research that went into my findings that for the first time, a court has looked at this issue on point, and I can tell you they are not third-party debt collectors. And so after my conversation with the Attorney General, and we have heard in the past, colleagues, that when a case is in the courts, the legislature may just want to sit back and not take action until it's resolved. Now, there's nothing that says we cannot do that, but my sentiment was, all right, I think the legislature can respect that, but I think the Attorney General's office also needs to respect it. If the Attorney General's office is asking us, don't take action, let it play out on appeal, then why shouldn't the Attorney General's office do the exact same thing and let it play out on appeal, stop pursuing property managers as third-party debt collectors, as the court specifically said they are not, and let it play out? At the end of the appeals process, we'll find out if the Court of Appeals is upholding the circuit court ruling that they are not. And so the bill, as passed out unanimously from the Finance Committee, simply was amended to say, stay all action pending the outcome of the appellate courts or of the court proceedings. We do have a circuit court judge for the first time on point has said they are not third-party debt collectors. So my message to the Attorney General is give it a rest. Sit back. It has created chaos in the industry because there are thousands of property managers out there who are now going to what? Have to be licensed as third-party debt collectors, which, by the way, colleagues, is a significant process that also requires them to post significant bonds, and their daily activities are making sure the lawns and the greens are mowed, toilets are functioning, lights are on, and snow is removed. And because they happen to send notices to their renters that you may have missed a payment, giving you the heads up, because the alternative is to go straight to court and seek to get restitution, get the property back. And I don't think any of us want that.
Senator Kramer, we will begin with questions.
Thank you for that, Madam Chair, and I hope that this committee will move this bill favorably as amended.
Apparently there was a timer that I did not hear, so, but with that said, good friend, so let you explain. But we will begin with Delegate Adams.
Senator, thank you for the bill. I hope our committee takes action on this issue.
I do too.
The only point I'll make is that when you speak of chaos, what's happening in practice, and maybe you've heard about this, is that we have some judges, and I would know because I know that are throwing cases out because when the landlord shows up at the court, the judge, in theory, has been asked to make sure that these landlords have a debt collector's license. And if the answer is no, the judge throws the case out. Doesn't give the landlord standing, doesn't really give them a good reason why they shouldn't be in court. Because, and I'll ask the question, when a landlord is going into a court, they are getting a judgment for possession of the property. And so my question to you is, getting a judgment for possession collecting a debt?
It is not. And by the way, notification to a tenant that their payment has not been received is also not collecting a debt. So I thank you for that good point. It's simply a notification that the contract has not been fulfilled. And again, to your point, that's exactly what is happening right now. It's created chaos. And we do have judges who don't know how to respond at the moment. And with passage of this bill as amended, the message will be, we are not pursuing property managers as third-party debt collectors, and hopefully then the courts will not say, you know, throw them out of the court when they come in.
So in essence, what I'm saying to you, and I know you're saying this through the amendments of this
Right.
Bill, is that there is a vacuum that is being filled by the courts through a decision that is pending. And the legislature can't wait until next year to act, because the next 9 months, the chaos continues because there's this vacuum as it relates to how the district court judges are supposed to interpret what's going on. Because it's clear to me at the moment, the Attorney General's office is certainly given some instructions to these judges throughout the state that a debt collector's license, and they're acting, and that's the bad part. So thank you for the bill.
You're absolutely correct, and that's a big part of the problem. Thank you for that.
Seeing no further questions, Senator Kramer, thank you for your testimony. That concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 589. We're going back to the order that we have here, Senate Bill 345, Senator Waldstreicher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This will be quick. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 345 is a cross-file of Delegate Ampri's bill. As many of you know, the MVA is the administrative agency that resolves disputes between the car dealers that are in our community and the manufacturers that provide those dealers with vehicles. This bill provides both the dealers and the manufacturers with standing to appear before the MVA in their associational capacity, and that's all the bill does. The rationale behind the bill is that obviously some of these disputes are not between a particular manufacturer and a particular dealer, but between practices that the manufacturers have and practices that the dealers have. So this allows them to resolve those disputes in whole much faster. There is an amendment. I believe it's been provided to council. If not, we will provide it. That it is a consensus amendment between the manufacturers and the dealers that just clarifies the requirements of when this associational standing takes place. Both sides agree to that amendment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. I was going to ask you that question, so thank you for messaging that in your testimony. Seeing no further questions, thank you very much. That concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 345. Now move on to Senate Bill 438. Senator Jackson.
Good afternoon, Economic Matters Committee. It's so good to be back. So good to be back. Yes, this is a family. Good afternoon, Chair Valderrama, Vice Chair Charkoudian, and members of the House Economic Matters Committee. For the record, I am Senator Carl Jackson here to present Senate Bill 438, Commercial Law Self-Service Storage Facilities Alterations. This is the cross-file of the legendary Delegate Andre Johnson.
AKA Big Storage.
SB 438 is nearly in the same posture as its cross-file HB 618, which was passed unanimously earlier this session by both ECM and the House. The differences between the two bills is clarifying in nature, and I'm happy to support conforming my bill, SB 438, to the version already passed by this committee. I respectfully request a favorable report with the conforming changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, Senator Jackson, thank you for your testimony this
Absolutely.
afternoon. That concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 438. Senate Bill 893, is someone here for Senator Guile? I did see her step out. So, okay, thank you. And apologies that she had to leave, that I had to make her away.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Mike Cardozo on behalf of Senator Don Guile, District 33, here to present Senate Bill 893. SB 893 is an emergency bill that establishes a uniform framework for cash rounding in Maryland as pennies continue to disappear from circulation. It authorizes merchants to round cash transactions using a standardized symmetrical method when exact change is unavailable, while preserving tax calculations based on the pre-rounded price. The bill has already passed the Senate and is cross-filed with Delegate Queen's House Bill 1026 that this committee heard. Our understanding is that Delegate Queen has submitted amendments that align the House bill with the Senate bill before you today. The bill follows the framework recommended by the National Conference of State Legislatures and aligns with guidance from the Comptroller. I respectfully request a favorable report on SB 893.
Great. Seeing no questions, thank you for your testimony this afternoon on behalf of Senator Guile. That concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 893. Senate Bill 818, Senator Hayes. Representative for Senator Hayes. Great.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Valderrama, Madam Vice Chair Charkoudian, and members of the Economic Matters Committee. For the record, my name is Ayan Tumume, and I serve as a policy intern for Senator Antonio Hayes, and I'm here to present Senate Bill 818, State Center Development, Contract, Plan Requirements, and Advisory Group. The State Center is a 28-acre state-owned site in Baltimore City and represents one of our most significant redevelopment opportunities. However, for years, progress has been stalled by ongoing discussion, negotiation, and delay. Senate Bill 818 is about moving this project forward while ensuring that the surrounding community is meaningfully included in that process. The bill establishes a state center advisory group made up of anchor institutions. This group is intended to provide structured input, increase transparency, and help ensure that development reflects the priorities of surrounding communities. More importantly, it gives community members a direct voice and a meaningful role in contributing to the decision-making process. The bill also includes conflict of interest safeguards to ensure that representatives are acting in the best interests of residents. Senate Bill 818 requires that any new or modified development contract include a community benefits agreement with the advisory group, a comprehensive local hiring plan with goals for construction jobs, long-term employment, and workforce training, and economic inclusion goals that support minority, women, and locally owned businesses. Together, these provisions help ensure that the benefits of redevelopment are shared with the surrounding community. Senate Bill 818 also updates the project to reflect current realities by allowing anchor institutions that provide public or community services to serve as major tenants, while also maintaining priorities such as a full-service grocery store, space for housing, retail, restaurants, a parking facility, and a green space. It also establishes a realistic timeline requiring construction to begin within 24 months of a finalized contract. This bill provides a balanced approach, advancing a long-delayed project while strengthening transparency, accountability, and community engagement. And for these reasons, I respectfully urge a favorable report on Senate Bill 818.
Thank you for your testimony. I have no questions for you, but thank you for coming before the committee on behalf of Senator Hayes.
Thank you.
Seeing there are no questions, that concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 818. We'll now move on to Senate Bill 763 for representing Senator Gazone.
Thank you, Madam Chair,
Madam Vice Chair and members of the Economic Matters Committee. My name is Makai Polk, staffer in Senator Gazzoni's office, here to present Senate Bill 763, the Maryland Technology Development Corporation Maryland Growth Initiative established. Senate Bill 763 is designed to expand on the success of the nationally recognized Maryland Innovation Initiative by leveraging state-funded expertise to bring early-stage companies into the next phase of manufacturing and growth. The bill would provide state-funded experts to focus on the most promising companies between early startup success and scaling, as well as experts in critical areas such as regulatory processes and manufacturing, clinical trials, and market launches. A central element of the program is a dedicated venture fund aimed at providing post-seed and Series A funding, helping Maryland startups to scale without needing to relocate. It will provide a curated list of companies primed for success in order to attract private venture capital to match state investment. The program will also help find essential physical and operational infrastructure that is beyond the reach of most growing startups. This includes office space, equipment, and support for product development, as well as administrative and back office services such as legal, accounting, and compliance support. The bill provisions would be timed to help companies at a critical time of development where many startups are deciding on where to locate and whether or not to move out of state. In short, the bill aims to improve the stickiness of growing companies, encouraging them to stay and grow in the state and demonstrate to private venture funders that companies in Maryland are worthy in investments. Although the cross-file has not been heard yet in this committee, this bill was voted favorably with amendments out of committee and passed unanimously out of the Senate. The amendments altered some language in the bill and ensured that this initiative is located in a high-need or economically distressed geographic area of the state as determined by the corporation. Thank you, and I respectfully urge a favorable report on Senate Bill 763.
Thank you again. Good afternoon again. My name is Troy Lamel Stovall. I serve as the CEO of TEDCO. Thank you for your support. Please pass on our thanks to Senator Gazzone for his continued support. And again, thank you all. As we think about this bill and the one that we spoke about previously, this is about thinking about the various stages of growth that companies go through, particularly at very early stage when there is the greatest danger of failure. And you've given us a number of tools to help us do that in this journey of as they come out of the labs, as they come out of someone's garage, as they come out of someone's back of the napkin. And so this gives us another tool to help in that progression and, as we like to say, the acceleration of that process to get them ready to be what we call investment ready. And so it's not just about the money, it's about the resources that we at TEDCO bring to help and the ecosystem brings to help that in that acceleration of that growth. So again, thank you, Senator Gazzone. Thank you all for your support, for listening to us. And we stand ready to answer any questions. As I turn it over to the panel, I'd be remiss not to extend a public congratulations to my friend here to my right, who last night the WTCI in Baltimore awarded him one of their awards for the work that he's doing on the international stage. So this is one of our early stage startups that's doing work internationally, specifically in South Korea. So we want to thank him publicly for the great work that he is doing in N5 sensors. So with you, Abhishek, I'll turn to you.
Thank you, Troy, for the generous introduction. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and all the distinguished members of this committee. My name is Abhishek Matayed. I'm the founder and CEO of N5 Sensors. We are based out of Rockville, Montgomery County, Maryland. So N5 Sensors is a University of Maryland spinoff that I founded in 2012. We develop artificial intelligence powered sensors that can detect wildfires, chemical threats, and hazardous air quality, protecting our military, first responders, and critical infrastructures. Our products and platforms are deployed across the US and globally, as Troy said. We have grown over 30 employees. Right now, it's about 35. With cutting-edge R&D and manufacturing facilities right here in Maryland. None of that would have been possible without TEDCO's continued support. They started supporting us in 2014. It's like 12 years now. In addition, we are actively training and recruiting the next generation of engineers and technicians in semiconductor manufacturing, artificial intelligence, and advanced communication technologies. This is the kind of deep tech workforce development that keeps Maryland competitive, both nationally and globally. TEDCO supported N5 at every critical stage, from inception to growth through various programs, helping us move from the lab to real-world deployments. SB 763's Maryland's Growth Initiative Fund provides exactly the bridge capital that proven companies like us need to scale and stay in Maryland. Maryland's greatest risk is not a lack of innovation, it's losing that innovation to other states. I'm a proud Maryland entrepreneur, and I strongly urge a favorable vote on SB 763. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mustafa Adami, and I am the CEO of Aztec Diagnostics. And behind me is my son, Eli. We're here in support of SB 763. So about 5 years ago, my grandfather got sick, and doctors took 4 days to tell him what the proper treatment should be, and watching him in pain, I decided to do something about it. So I founded Aztec Diagnostics. I was trying to figure out what the first step should be, and someone told me go to your friends and family and have them invest money, except that 5 years earlier, I was a refugee, so my friends and family don't actually have money. My friends and family became TEDCO, and I got my first check, was $150,000 from the Maryland Innovation Initiative, and that changed the game for me. Since then, Aztec has been able to raise $10 million. We've created many, many jobs. We are very close to getting FDA clearance. So what happens with startups is you have an idea, you have a sketch, you need to make it a prototype that kind of works, and that is what MII did for me. The next step is you need to get a little bit of money to build a prototype that you can actually take to the clinic. So TEDCO has the Builder Fund for that, and they have the SBIR proposal lab, which we, helped me get the first grant. So now we have a prototype that works. But we needed real money. So with this bill, there is the Maryland Growth Initiative. That is that money that is going to bridge the gap from having a prototype that works in the clinic to attracting big money so we could actually build the actual product. And I really think this would be great for Maryland startups. Thank you.
Good afternoon again, Madam Chair, distinguished members of the committee. Jorge Diaz-Schneider, CEO of Ion Storage Systems, an anode innovation company in the solid-state battery space. It is my pleasure to be here with you again in support of yet another tool, as Troy has mentioned, of the TEDCO Powerhouse. And one of the things that I would like you to realize is as you all know, ideas are tremendously fragile. Ideas need to be really nourished and cared for. And more importantly, the toolkit that TEDCO has developed, including the one Bill 763, which is an investment in an earlier stage of a company, allows you to have the right set of calibrated milestones to track the progress of a company. A lot of the times in capital markets, there are just different varying, they call it moving the goalpost. You don't really understand at what point the expectations of milestones of business performance are required. And what TEDCO has done is it has developed a very robust set of tools, each connected to each other, that allow a company to really focus on the important aspects of developing a business in a sustainable way for the benefit of the state of Maryland. The other important aspect is, as you are thinking of a new idea, you really want to channel that energy and that passion of the entrepreneur and the innovator towards developing that idea and not having it be distracted by funding initiatives or things that are decisively outside the control. And that is where the TEDCO partnership really crystallizes the value with new ideas and new entrepreneurs in the space. Again, we are proud to partner with TEDCO. They have partnered with us when we were at that stage in our development. We stand as a proud testament that the approach does work, and we strongly urge a favorable passing of Bill 763. Thank you very much for your attention.
Great. Seeing no questions for this panel, thank you very much for your testimony, and sir, congratulations on your recognition. Well deserved.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We do have a virtual, Mr. Stephen Chang. Oh, Mr. Chang left. Seeing no further witnesses, that concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 763. And now to our last bill of the day, the one and only Senator Harris, SB 932. welcome.
Saving the best for last. Great afternoon to all, and all a great afternoon. Chair, Vice Chair, awesome committee. For the record, Senator Kevin M. Harris, representing Legislative District 27, which consists of Prince George's, Charles, and Calvert County. Here to present Senate Bill 932, Consumer Protection Social Media Platform Display of User Location. In the age of social media, it has been increasingly evident that in order to increase platform engagement, social media companies continue to take advantage of and manipulate users through algorithm that keeps them hooked. The algorithm is designed to be addictive, presenting users with divisive, polarized, and often extreme content. At the same time, we know that a large portion of most extreme social media content comes from pages that are not located in the United States. International actors are looking to profit from user engagement at the expense of public trust and democratic stability in the United States. Senate Bill 932 requires a person operating a social media platform to display the general geographic location of the content produced by the adult users. General geographic locations refer to users' state and country, not precise geolocation. Further, Senate Bill 932 seeks to protect kids by exempting minors from having to display their location. Senate Bill 932, as amended, alters the definition of social media and excludes email platforms, interactive gaming from enforcement under this bill. Senate Bill 932 seeks to protect free speech while at the same time empowering mariners to know where the content they are viewing originates from. This bill will provide transparency for mariners so they can better assess whether the content they are viewing was created by good faith actors or by a foreign entity. Senate Bill 932 will protect our democratic institutes by helping social media users identify disinformation produced by international actors. For this reason, I urge a favorable report on Senate Bill 932, along with the additional amendments my team has sent over that was submitted to update the bill with provisions in the Virginia version of the bill. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. We'll start with questions from Delegate Pippy, Aarons, and then Queen.
Senator, good afternoon.
Great afternoon.
Couple questions. One, you had mentioned in your opening remarks that you were trying to protect, I guess, children. I know you've probably heard some concerns from some of the advocates about that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me ask you, and I hope I'm not opening a can of worms here, but is the precipitous of this bill to prevent foreign actors like outside of the U.S.?
Yes, okay. That's the main focus of it.
So have you discussed just hypothetically, assuming this moves forward, limiting just to identifying whether they're in the country or out of the country? Why does it have to be by state?
Well, originally we actually had it by city. So we actually, the original language of the bill was city and country, and we decided to do state and country because in some countries they don't have cities, right? And so they will be able to it'd be their province and the country. So that's the reason why we went to that angle. Also, keep in mind, social media companies were already doing this, and they decided to pull back from it about a year ago. So this is something that was already being done, that they already had the capability of doing, and they just pulled back from doing it. So now we just ask them to put it back.
So would it still support what you're trying to accomplish if the posts said they had to be whether they were in the United States or out of the United States?
Absolutely. It'd be a good start.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I read through the bill. We didn't hear this bill before, so I started reading through it. You got some pretty heavy unfavorables on this about protecting people. Have you addressed those? I know it's amended. Have you addressed those people, or where do they stand now?
Correct. So we did address, especially for women. We addressed that. We put an amendment on, so the bill has been amended to address folks from in a domestic violence point of view. So the bill has been amended for that.
Okay, but you haven't, are they in favor of it now, or you just put some patchwork?
No,
Every one of them?
They're in favor of it. We amended it from the floor of the Senate, from their views.
Okay. When you look at the bill, it sounds great. Then I got into it and I started getting a little worried about the bill. But
oh, absolutely.
I'll hear some more. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess some of the questions, thank you, Senator, for the bill. I think I understand what you're trying to get to. And you mentioned some of what I was going to ask because I wanted to find out what other states have done this. So you mentioned Virginia and you had something about Virginia's language. Is there another state that does something like this?
So Virginia is the only one that passed there so far.
Okay. And the intent of all of these, is this the Virginia Consumer Data Protection Act or is this something else?
Something totally different.
Okay. And this is only related to anybody who has a website or is it just businesses?
This is mainly all for anyone with a social media account that is engaging back and forth.
Okay. And so you mentioned that you've done something to address because I was concerned about the unintended consequences raised by I think Women's Law Center and concerns about domestic violence. What exactly was done to address that?
Yeah, so based off the amendment, they will be able to, they being social media companies, will be able to block those who are registered in, I forgot what the registry is called for domestic violence victims, but they would be able to block those folks from being, their user locations from being displayed.
Okay, and so Virginia is the only one that's done something that's been passed, and we don't know of others who've done anything before.
Correct.
Okay. You said something about we were doing this already, but then we pulled back. What did you mean by that? I'm not following what was happening there.
So we, in the sense of I don't want to say the social media companies were doing this already. They started doing this roughly about 2 years ago, and then they pulled back from it. Not sure on the reason why they pulled back from it, and some of us probably didn't even notice. But about 2 years ago, if you post on social media, it automatically provided your locations, your city and state, city and country location on your post.
Okay, and so I can turn off my location off my phone stuff.
Correct.
Does that get impacted or?
No, even though you turn off your location, you're still utilizing the IP address. They can still.
So they still could tell where.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, thank you very much, Senator Harris.
Appreciate it.
We do have a fair bill with amendment. Grayson Wiggins.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Grayson Wiggins here on behalf of the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. Our amendments are the ones that were referenced by the sponsor to align the bill with Virginia's law that passed. And so I thank the sponsor for meeting with me. I believe these are friendly amendments that he sent over, and we appreciate him working with us.
Seeing no questions for you, thank you, Grayson. We'll now move on to the opposition. Laura Ruth, Lisa Jordan, and Joyce King.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Excuse me. This chair is very heavy, excuse me. My name is, and members of the committee, nice to see you. My name is Laurie Ruth. I am the Public Policy Director at the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence. And we are the coalition that represents domestic violence service providers throughout the state of Maryland. We have member organizations and affiliate organizations. I think I said in my written testimony that this is, to me, the quintessential unintended negative consequences bill. I completely respect the sponsor and, in fact, the whole Senate's desire to inform us consumers, if you will, when there's a foreign bot engaging with me on social media in some way. However, even with the amendments by Senator Hedelman and Senator West, which we very much appreciate, it was done on the fly at the last minute when this bill was brought to our attention. We still have very genuine fears for survivors of domestic violence. And if you just envision for a moment, you know, if I live in Florida and I flee, as we know that domestic violence survivors do, I flee to Maryland, even with the amendment that says I'm in the state of Maryland now, abusers know their victims, and especially persistent abusers know their victims. So if they know that my best friend is in Maryland, my mother lives in Maryland, my brother lives in Maryland, they're going to know and be able to find me. And it's those types of persistent abusers that are going to learn about this location device and use it to their advantage. So I don't have the technological skill to know how to fix this, which is basically what our problem was. We don't know the answer, but we just know that it's dangerous for people in the constituency that we represent at the network and all of our programs. I can't tell you how to fix it. For those reasons, we asked for an unfavorable report. If I could just add, the only amendments I've seen are the ones that were done on the floor of the Senate. I have not seen any new amendments about Virginia, if there are any. I wasn't entirely clear. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Lisa Jordan with the Maryland Coalition Against Sexual Assault. Madam Chair, it is a delight to be out of judiciary and to see you in the chair's seat. It's my first time in ECM since you've been here. Like the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence that represents domestic violence programs, the Maryland Coalition Against Sexual Assault represents sexual assault programs, so the rape crisis centers that help survivors in each one of your jurisdictions. We have a lot of overlapping clients, so one thing I will say is that although we really appreciate the amendment regarding address confidentiality, that is a very, very small number of victims of domestic violence. Most of them will not be helped by that amendment. Delegate Pippi, I do think that the idea of in the U.S. versus out of the U.S. would help in a lot of cases, but where it's not going to help is for kids, because it's a great intent to say, okay, we're not going to have the location of a child on the social media platform, but it's going to say, okay, an adult, like Ms. Ruth here, is going to have the location, but if we have a child, like some of your delightful witnesses, they are not going to have the location listed. It is not going to take a rocket scientist to figure out that someone who doesn't have the location listed is a child. And one thing about sex offenders, they talk all of the time on the internet. They exchange information. It will be all of 30 minutes before they all know that, oh, look, if there's no place listed, that's a child. Let's target the child. And I don't think the in-country, out-of-country amendment would address that. I know that Ms. King is going to talk more about child exploitations, and I really regret that we were not aware of this bill on the other side. Unfortunately, kind of all of our different groups missed it until it was brought to our attention on crossover, and so that is why we're here asking you firmly for an unfavorable report on Senate Bill 932.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, distinguished members. My name is Joyce King. I am here representing the Maryland States Attorneys Association. I'm the Deputy State's Attorney in Frederick County. I also co-chair the Special Victims Subcommittee, and we ran this bill through the State's Attorneys Association as well as through the SVU Subcommittee, and wholeheartedly we also are asking for an unfavorable report. While I do appreciate the noble intent to avoid bad actors, foreign bad actors from engaging and bots engaging on these platforms, I've been a child exploitation cybercrimes prosecutor for 13 years, and unfortunately most of the offenders are domestic. And this absolutely makes children more vulnerable by able to identify their account, as Ms. Jordan says, and as well as most of the bad actors and defendants that I have dealt with are using VPNs, proxy servers, are able to anonymize their accounts and appear as they are here in Maryland. So I don't believe that this is really protecting. It also is giving a false sense of security to consumers here in Maryland that they are somehow now in fact engaging with a real person here, and that is not the case. So with that, we do ask for an unfavorable report. I do echo the sentiments of Ms. Jordan that Delegate Pippi's suggestion of U.S. versus non-U.S. will diminish some of the bad actors that are foreign. However, like I stated, the sophistication of the criminalities on the internet, of which I have seen and dealt with, can easily bypass this. So basically what we're doing is adding additional burdens and false senses of security for regular use civilians.
Thank you. We'll start with Delegate Aaronson and then Delegate Buafo.
When I first read the bill, it sounded okay. Some things sounded okay. Then I read what you all wrote. Is there anything you like about the bill? Huh?
It's got an excellent Senate
other than the
sponsor.
sponsor.
The sponsor is
Very
wonderful.
highly of him.
I'm sorry.
Honestly, Delegate, I would like to know if I was interacting unintentionally with a foreign bot, and I think that is the underlying intent. I get that. I just can't support the bill unless somebody can figure out how to do that. I also have questions about federal law and state law and how this affects that for a company that has social media all over the world, but that's beyond my knowledge.
From my world, I look at it saying anytime I can identify somebody where they're at, that's an issue for me. And I think in your world and what you're testifying about, that should be a big issue because we have, as you mentioned, children, and the unintended consequence is pretty significant. And I just wonder how many other people were exposed to this bill before you came out against it. It just seems like there's some things that scare me about it for my family and my children, blah, blah.
So we did not find out about it until it had passed second reader in the Senate. It says commercial law, and somehow in our world, none of us saw it. And that is, just what happened. So I don't know what discussions happened on the Senate side. I trust the people in the committee that heard it. I really think it was an oversight on that nobody figured out these unintentional negative consequences. So, but I don't know who they spoke with.
None of you attended the Senate hearing? You attended it?
We did not know. Well, we missed it.
My thing is passed 42-0 in the Senate. So there's got to be some fixes in this bill. Maybe when we get down to voting, we can get where they're at. But, 42-0 means there's.
They just like the sponsor too.
I think, unfortunately, Delegate, we just missed it. And I suspect, because I also work with the senators sometimes on the Finance Committee, that if they had known about it, they would also have been concerned. So I would respectfully ask that it be unfavorable at least this year. Let's give us a chance to really address these issues. This is dangerous. I mean, these are sex offenders and people who can get hurt.
That's my concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I personally am not a fan of the sponsor of the bill in the Senate. Don't you guys miss me when I'm not here? In all seriousness, thank you guys for the testimony today. I have a couple things to say. One, I'm a personal fan of age-gating social media. I think we need to do that. I understand that's more of a federal thing, but in Maryland would look forward to my colleagues next session doing something like that. And I think that takes that concern out of this bill. We absolutely can regulate social media. I mean, this committee has done so much on privacy in particular. Although there aren't any borders for social media and for these new digital devices, the state definitely has a role, especially in a way where the federal government is not actually taking that action up. Look, I'll be honest, I'm a fan of this bill. In fact, I think I told the Senate sponsor I wanted to cross-file this bill over here, but that's a conversation for another day. The reality is, to be honest, I never thought about the sexual assault provision that you're bringing up. And so the thing that I implore you to do is to work. I totally get these headlines can confuse folks with commercial law or business reg or whatever it may be. But I implore you to work with the sponsor of the bill in the Senate side to come up with some solution. Because the reality is, especially in this moment that we're faced in as a country, what's happening online and the conversations that are happening online and how they are swaying public sentiment becomes very dangerous for everyday Americans. And so I totally get the doxing concern. I totally get the concern around domestic violence victims. But I think that this is such an important bill, especially in this time that we're in, that I implore you to work with the sponsor on getting something done, because I think we need to do something around this issue just because our folks in Washington are not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, thank you very much, ladies, for your testimony this afternoon.
Thank you.
We do have several unfavorables that are virtual. Margaret Durkin.
Good afternoon, Chair Valderrama and members of the committee. My name is Margaret Durkin, and I'm the Mid-Atlantic Executive Director for TechNet, a tech trade association. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today on Senate Bill 932. TechNet did engage on this bill when it was in the Senate, and our concerns remain the same. We believe that this bill will violate consumer privacy by mandating that social media platforms display the general geographical location of the user. This threatens physical safety and potentially opens up the opportunity for harassment and intimidation of individuals. We are also opposed because we believe this is a compelled disclosure bill. And in this case, location data becomes highly sensitive when combined with, say, a profile photo, an employment statistic, or any personal content on a site. And it also moves away from opt-in consent of location data to mandatory display, which goes against data minimization. We're also concerned about the private right of action included in the bill, and for the reasons stated previously and in my written remarks, we are opposed to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Durkin. No questions for you. Thank you for your testimony this afternoon. Next, we have Megan Stokes.
Good afternoon, Chair Valderrama and members of the committee. My name is Megan Stokes, State Policy Director at the Computer and Communications Industry Association. We respectfully oppose Senate Bill 932. At its core, we feel that this bill is unworkable. It relies on IP addresses to determine a user's location, but IP addresses are often inaccurate. Many people use VPNs, proxy servers, or shared networks that can mask or reroute their location. A user sitting in Maryland may appear to be in another state or even another country. That means platforms cannot reliably determine who's a state user, nor what location information should be displayed. The result is simple. Companies will be exposed to liability no matter what they do. The only way to comply would be to collect precise geolocation data on all users. But that creates a different serious problem. It would force companies to gather highly sensitive location data at scale, undermining user privacy, and it would directly conflict with Maryland's own privacy law, which limits the collection of precise geolocation data unless it is strictly necessary to provide a service. Compliance with this bill is not necessary to provide social media services, which would put companies in a legal catch-22. Finally, even if compliance were possible, the consequences could be dangerous. Requiring platforms to display user locations would expose individuals to stalking, harassment, other real-world harms. It could also undermine protections for vulnerable communities, including immigrants, by making it easier to identify and target individuals based on their location. For all of these reasons, Senate Bill 932 is not only unworkable because it would weaken privacy and create real risk for Marylanders, we do respect and urge an unfavorable report. Thank you.
Seeing no questions, Ms. Stokes, thank you very much for your testimony this afternoon. We have one final unfavorable virtual, Nathan Trail. Go ahead, Mr. Trail.
Yes. Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Nathan Trail. I'm the Vice President of State Government Affairs at the Information Technology Industry Council, or ITI, and we respectfully oppose SB 932. Although we understand the intent behind this bill, requiring platforms to publicly display the general location of adult users by default creates serious privacy, safety, and technical concerns. Even state-level location data can be highly sensitive when combined with other public information, and this approach mandates broader disclosure rather than user choice. It could often expose adults in sensitive circumstances to intimidation or retaliation. In addition, the bill relies on IP-based geolocation, which is often imprecise and easily manipulated through VPN and other network tools. That means the requirement may be invasive for ordinary users while doing little to stop bad actors. Because violations would also carry consumer protection liability, the bill creates disproportionate legal exposure tied to unreliable location signals. In short, this bill would require more public disclosure of sensitive information without giving users more control and without providing a reliable safety benefit. For these reasons, we respectfully ask an unfavorable report to SB 932. Thank you so much.
Seeing no questions for you, Mr. Trail, thank you very much for your testimony this afternoon. Seeing no further witnesses, that concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 932. That concludes the bill hearings for this afternoon. And members, in case you didn't see the update from myself or on your email, the floor session will now be at 3 p.m. We're adjourned.